Welcome into the Tottenham Depot. I am your host, Andrew. You can follow me at @Stedka. You can follow us at Tottenham Depot. This is episode 273. It is a mere 60 minutes or so after the full-time whistle has blown in the North London Derby. Another 4-1 defeat for Spurs. Second one of the season to them lot. And I've got Todd alongside to break it all down with me. He is at TC_Kasho. Todd, what's going on, my friend?
What's up, man? You know, any day you can have a conversation about a Tottenham Hotspur football match, and nobody got injured for us is a good fucking day. Like, I mean, that's where I'm at, brother. I mean,
Baby
did we
steps.
play a match today? We did play a match today. Yeah, trying to find the bright spots, brother. Trying to find the bright spots.
Baby steps. You're right. You said it right before we hit record. No one got hurt today, and that, in fact, is an improvement on what Tottenham Hotspur have been doing lately. They have been averaging about one massive injury per match, and to this point, as far as we know, the players came out of this one healthy. Now, may that change because we're recording this pretty shortly after the game? It could, but we're not going to hear about it on this recording right now because we're doing this right now, and we're living in the moment. Buddy, this was a weird match because honestly, when you kind of draw the curtain back and zoom out a little bit, there was some atmosphere, there was a little bit of buzz, there was some effort, and it wasn't all terrible until it kind of all turned terrible. Like, and that's, I guess, become the theme. But I at least saw a little something, and in the end, it still ends up just being a lopsided defeat that hurts just as much as all the other lopsided defeats hurt. Before we get into kind of the reasons for all of the things and why they went the way they did, what was just your feeling on effort in this match? Because I did think we at least saw some of that from the players on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I made this comment in the pub. You get about 20, 30 minutes of a new manager bounce in the first match before you kind of revert to form. And we got somewhere in that vicinity. I thought we actually had a really good first half, to be fair. But I was, you know the way that Arsenal play, they're going to hold on to a lot of the ball. You know that they're going to hang out in your end for a lot of it. You know they're going to try to force a lot of corners and shithouse their way to goals. You know that. You know they're going to take shots from deep. You know that. They did all those things. They are who we thought they were. And in the first half, I thought we did a really good job of showing them who we are in the best versions of us. So pressing high and, being able to track back with athletic defenders, but ultimately, allowing Xavi to run the show. Like, I thought we did all of the things that you want to see from Tottenham Hotspur to be successful. Even to the point where Randall Colomwani got a goal in the first half, and a very well taken goal, and shout to that guy. We talked about it in the last pod, Andrew. And I said this in the pub to Ben as the game got started. I said, if we're ever going to get a tune out of Randall Colomwani in the Tottenham shirt, it's going to be under Igor Tudor, because he's had 11 matches under the guy, and he's scored 5 goals, and he's got 1 assist. Now he's got 12 matches under the guy, and he's got 6 goals and 1 assist. So that's not fucking terrible. Truth be told, he had 7, but we're not going to talk about that at this moment in time. We're going to come on to that a little bit later. The only other guy that I definitely wanted to shout out here is I wanted to shout out Basuma.
Yeah.
Because I think Basuma, regardless of what you think about this guy, we're scraping for 11 points right now, Andrew. I don't give a fuck about anything. We're getting 11.
We're scraping for 11 players to put on the pitch, too.
Facts. But as we're looking at the rest of the season, we're scraping for 11 points.
Yep.
And I think that Basuma, the way that Igor Tudor sets up and the way that this looked today, I think Basuma is an extremely important piece of what we're doing, especially if we're looking at a backline that includes Dragus and Polina.
Yeah. No, I think if Spurs are able to stay up in the Premier League by the end of this season, I do weirdly think Basuma is going to have a large role to play in whether or not that happens. And I think that, to your point, that's just not a position any of us want to be in, but it is where we are. So we just kind of have to wrap our arms around it and hold on for dear life. We are going to talk. We're going to say the word relegation on this podcast. I'm not one of those like superstition people. I'm sorry.
No, we don't shy away from where we are.
They're in a relegation battle. They're going to have to scrap and point for, like you said, every one of those last points over the final 11 matches of this season. And that's kind of all we have to play for and all we have to watch. So we're going to watch, and we're going to say it, and we're going to speak bluntly about it. And to your point, I think not only is Igor Tudor going to have a big role to play in this, I think there are certain players like Basuma, like Conor Gallagher, like Rando Kolomoani, who are going to have a big role in whether or not Spurs are able to stay in the Premier League after this season. And I think you nailed it on the head. I do want to talk a little bit about Igor Tudor too, because we hadn't really heard from the man when we last potted. We heard a lot more from him this week, and we got to see his first team and how he's set up. Let's get into just some overall impressions from his first press conference and the way we set up the team. He set up the team, which is, I think, similar to how we thought he would set it up, in this kind of, like a 3-4-2-1 type of formation, and using the three center backs, even though we only have technically two healthy center backs right now. We're still going to utilize who we have and what we have and throw it out there. So lay it on me about the first impressions of Igor Tudor and what he's kind of brought to this team and brought into this match.
He's exactly the type of man that you want in a foxhole when you're in a relegation battle. It's the reason why he is who he is and why he does what he does and has been successful at doing in his career. And that is, you take a group of malleable players that lack a little bit of discipline, and you kick them in the ass, and you show them a simple way to do what they've been doing their entire life, which is play football. And then you sit back and you watch as these highly paid and highly trained athletes do what they're supposed to do. You don't overcomplicate it. You don't make it too difficult. You make it football. And for a large part of the day, we played football. When you listen to what he says, he walks with the type of energy that you want to follow. And I think that stark contrast between him and Frank is the largest boost that he brought to this team. And you could tell that by the way that people felt leading up to this match. On paper, we should have lost this match 4-1. We've got everybody and their mom injured. We got a new manager. We've been wayward in the league the entire season. We're dog shit at home. On paper, we should have lost this match. But in this week leading up to this match, there was this weird air of not optimism or confidence, but just excitement to see what could be.
Yeah.
And I feel like for about 65 to 70 minutes of this match, we got to see that. Somewhere in there?
I think that's fair, and I think that I think that spoke to kind of what the atmosphere was in the building. Like, fans were trying to get behind, and I think I think most fans are fully realists and expecting and kind of knowing what's going on here, and they're also almost embracing the fact that it's gonna take a lot to stay up at this point, and it's gonna take a hell of an effort over these last 11 matches.
Well, listen, I think that the biggest, you're absolutely right. And I think that the biggest hurdle that you have to overcome is the apathy that set in with the fan base and with the players under the last regime.
Right.
And I think that that's very true in any sort of change management situation. There's a certain amount of rot that is set in, and you need to kick that rot loose, clean it up if you can, or get rid of it if you can't. And I think that, fortunately, what it looked like is we had a lot of players that were just fucking sick and tired of Frank and the shit that he was asking them to do. Because I saw looks on faces that I hadn't seen in a long, long time from guys like Jed Spence, guys like Pop Sar, guys that were out there doing the things that we know that they're capable of doing, that we felt like they were hamstrung, I guess, to knock on wood, that wasn't a Freudian. Anyhow, you know what I'm saying? I was like,
yeah, I do.
Anyway, there were a few words that I could have gone with there, and they were all bad. So
something's been holding certain players back, and maybe now there is a certain freedom under a new manager and under a new portion of this season, which has taken its own shape and its own, this portion of the season has taken a life of its own because of the battle that Spurs face below them, and with West Ham obviously picking up a point this week, that gap is now 4. Like it's this is the
we're in it, bro.
About it for weeks. We're in it. We've been in it. We're just more solidly in it now, and
But I guess I don't know, brother. I look at it like this. Like I just want to zoom out a little bit more. At the beginning of February, we said all of this shit was going to happen. We called this. How many points are we going to get? A handful is a huge leap. And that's kind of where we are in this situation. We knew February was going to suck for us. And so it's what we do.
Just imagine if it had possibly involved 2 Champions League matches as well. Like that's the blessing in all of this, that it didn't have to go through that.
I'm just over here saying, like, as much as it sucks to be in the middle of the suck, we knew it was going to suck. So as it sucks, we shouldn't be surprised that it sucks.
I think that's absolutely 100% spot on. Let's get into some of the decisions in this game, because that is obviously going to be a big talking point. There was the early foul that Gabriel put on Kolomwani that went uncalled, and like this one is obviously, when you watch it back, you're like, wait, that's a foul anywhere, and it goes uncalled. And I know what you're gonna say, and we all know what you're gonna say, and I'm fully backing you on this. Where the game really changed for me is when you disallow that goal, the second goal that Kolomwani scores, because of a what's called a push on Gabriel, when really Gabriel mistimes his jump and flops. Like that's all it is. That's all that happened there. Kolomwani certainly equalized, and look, you said it a second ago. Spurs lost this match 4-1 and deserved to lose this match 4-1, and would have lost it on paper 4-1 prior. They lost the reverse fixture 4-1. But you go 2-2 there, and that game, the mood changes.
It's an entirely different match.
It's an entirely different. We're at home.
It's rocking. We just had Delhi on the pitch. It changes everything, Andrew.
Yes, and we just saw what happened to Arsenal early in the week against Wolves. Like they know how to bottle things, and they were about to bottle this, and for some reason it's wiped away.
It's not for some reason. It happens every single time. The thing is not only was it a terrible fucking decision on the pitch by the much maligned Peter Banks, who's fucking terrible at his job, and everybody will agree with that. I think he gives out the most cards in the league. He is, which says to me, if you're giving out the most cards in the league and you're making decisions like he made today, that you're a very pliable individual. We'll put it that way. The other thing that I will say is that how you know this is utter bullshit is that was the quickest VAR check in the history of the Premier League. There were people in the pub still celebrating because they still thought it was a goal. When I heard over the audio that, oh yeah, and the check's complete. Like, oh. And here's the thing. Anybody who's looking at this from the outside in that's not Spurs goes, well, I mean, you lost 4-1. What are you crying about? It's just a goal. And it's like, but as you so rightfully stated, a goal at that point in time makes it 2-2. The roof goes off the building. And it completely changes the complexity of the subs. It changes the complexity of the fouls. It changes the time-wasting theatrics that Arsenal do.
They're just a bunch of cheaters. That's all it is.
They're just
nonstop.
And you're right. It is the dark arts of the shit. The thing is a Mikel Arteta coached team plays the way that Mikel Arteta played, which he was a shit cunt, and that's how his team plays. And it's not surprising. Every time you go outside, Andrew, when it's raining, the water is wet. So Mikel Arteta and his team being cunts is not surprising. And it's not something that I look at and I'm even mad about it anymore. I hate it, and I'm just it's rough. It's like you're smelling onions or whatever when that guy celebrates after a goal. But like, buddy, he is who he is.
When you talk about apathy, I don't have apathy for Spurs at this point. I do have apathy for all this other shit that's been going on for years and years. I'm just apathetic to this point. I just know it's going to happen to us, and I'm just I'm not even mad. I can't even work up to get mad about it anymore. It's our lot in life. This is what's going to happen.
So I'm over here going like from the goal against Manchester United that wasn't a goal to freaking Lucas Moura having the ball ricochet off his shoulder after he got fouled and having that be called offsides on a Harry Kane goal, to the Eric Dyer, phantom handball against Newcastle, to I can go down the fucking list, Andrew, and it's like, how is this accepted and acceptable
It's not, but it's
for a
literally what's been
team that
going on
makes
for so
the
long.
Premier League for a team that makes the Premier League as much money as Tottenham Hotspur does? I mean,
Well,
you gotta
for now.
understand that you say this, but like I still err on the side of we knew we were going to lose to Arsenal, like and today, and so the fact that we lost to them sucks, and the way that we lost to them sucks even worse. But I understand that we only need 11 points, and that's what I said. That's I've been saying this, and so like that's all I'm focused on. I didn't expect for any of those 11 points to come today. So like as we look at the overall, I'm actually fairly, and like the fact that we had a shitty decision go against us by a silly referee, and it was Gabrielle who did it, who was very hateable to begin with. Like, it's twist the knife. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. But like I'm actually looking at this more optimistically than maybe anybody, because I feel like the one guy that we've been waiting to get going, the one fucking guy where we're just like, if you could just do what we paid you to do, like that would be really helpful, is Randall Colomwani. So like that guy, despite what the score sheet says, that guy scored two great goals today and battled some of the best center backs in the league and looked like a proper number nine. And it's the first time I've been able to say that all season.
Yeah, he did. And he was good, and Javi had a rough first half, but I thought played better in the second. I think the thing that about this disallowed goal that rips me up the most is the fact that Spurs went down 1-0 in this match, came right back and scored to equalize, and we're like, no, we're not going to get pushed around today.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck this. And then they go down again early in the second half, but then
Mm-hmm.
come right back and score again and are told, no, that doesn't count because of some phantom bullshit. And then the heads drop. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say the wheels fell off. You're right. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's an easy thing to do, to continue to have to climb that mountain after you're getting kicked in the face by the guy with the whistle. But they couldn't do it. And they continually show that they can't do it. Every time there's adversity, wheels fall off. And that is the difference between what this club has been and what other clubs are striving to be. And this club needs to get itself into that other position from a mentality standpoint, or it's going to be a long 11 games of this season and going into next season. Like it's something that has carried throughout, no matter who the managers are, no matter who the players are coming through. There's just this mentality of when shit goes wrong, woe is us, and shit's going to continue to go wrong, so we can't continue to fight against it. And I think that's the part for me that's just that's the twisting of the knife, is like you see it happen and then you don't see anything change because of it. And that's the twisting of the knife for me.
I can definitely see that perspective. Um, but the thing is that you always hear me say things like narrative affirming decisions. And I said it at the beginning of the season. I complained about what I saw last year. And I said it at the beginning of last season because I complained about what I saw the year before. And what I've said is that you don't have to outright cheat. All you have to do is a VAR decision this way, or an offside call that way, or a foul given or not given this way. And it completely changes the complexion of the table, not just the game. Because that happens 3 or 4 times throughout the season, and that's just our lot in life. Fuck you, dude. That's like 7 points. Like, and it's like, obviously you can't like say, oh, well, this is or this isn't going to happen in most situations. But what you can say is that those decisions, as the one today did, invariably impact the outcome of the game by simply changing the game state.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing, is that all the momentum for Spurs was going in their favor in that moment, and you saw the fight back, you saw the atmosphere, and then to have it chopped off, it wrecks everything, and it puts Spurs in a position now where they have to be looking over their shoulder and saying 4 points between them and West Ham. Now, they do not play West Ham again this season. They've already played them. I went ahead and after the result was over this morning, I looked at some schedules. And what's really interesting about this whole thing is Spurs are 16th on 29 points, Forest 17th on 27, West Ham in that 18th spot on 25 points. The big teams that are going to have a lot to say over the next 11 weeks, or 11 matches, I should say, are Aston Villa, but even more specifically, Fulham. The next 3 Premier League match weeks, Fulham face all 3 of the teams battling relegation here in us next week at Craven Cottage. They will then host West Ham. Then they travel to face Nottingham Forest. It's a really big 3 weeks for these 3 teams, all playing the same exact team over the next 3 weeks. I'm starting to like really keep an eye on just these 3 teams, and I guess you could maybe throw Leeds in, who are 2 points ahead of Spurs. But like, these are matches we have to start watching, and I'm sitting there watching. Was it this morning or yesterday rather, as West Ham get a point, and I'm like, okay, Spurs had better, better mind their P's and Q's, because this thing's going to turn really, really quickly. And 11 matches feels like a lifetime. It's going to go in a blink, and there's not a lot of time to fix this. And that's, I think, the thing that has you rubbing your temples right now.
I don't need anything to be fixed. We have an injured 11 that we're still waiting for people to get back. We have a suspended captain for a variety of different reasons. Opinions on him are swaying at the moment. We have a hard man at the helm who very sharply dressed. I was not upset about his February fit today. It was solid effort from him. It's definitely a hell of a lot better than whatever the history teacher was doing in the last few months. But I look at what we have to do. You're right, it is going to go in a blink, but we just have to grind out results against teams that we should be getting a result against.
But which team is that at this point? Which team should we be getting a result against? That's kind of my point, because there's no question that this is still a very bad football team.
You say that this is a very bad football team, and I disagree with you. With this very bad football team, with 90% of these fucking players, won the Europa League last year. And so as bad as this football team is, like, we're missing a lot of the key elements, and some of those will be coming back over the course of the next few weeks. And as they do, I think this team is going to strengthen. And as this team strengthens and galvanizes around Tudor's I will kill you attitude and very back to basics football, which anybody can get behind and just be fabulous, like, I think that we should be getting results against your teams, like your mid-table fodder teams and your teams in the relegation area like we are, right? If you're ninth and below, I think we should get a result.
I frankly think that's preposterous. I don't see who's coming back, number one, to help this team. I don't see who's coming back from the injured list in a timely manner in order to help.
Well,
and I don't think we should be beating teams below ninth. I think we're way shittier than the teams that are above us, and maybe even shittier than some of the teams that are below us. I think we're a very bad team, and I think it's going to be a fight like hell to stay up.
It's really easy to look at a back three of Van de Ven, Dragishin, and Polina, and
it is in fact
then
easy to look at that and say it's bad. Yes,
it's bad. I don't disagree with you, but that's not our best back there.
But that's who we are right now. Like that's who we are.
No. But that's okay. So no. I look at that and I go, there's a distinction between being a very bad football team and having limited options because of injuries or other reasons. Okay, So, and I would say that when you look at the collection of players that we will have available before the end of the season. So I'm not including your Madisons or your Kulusevskis or anybody like that. Who else? Danzo, right?
But who else are you considering? Like, there's a lot of names still on
Pedro
the
Porro coming back is going to be huge. Udogi coming back is going to be huge. Kudus coming back is going to be huge. Like, we have reinforcements coming, dude. And I feel like we will have opportunity. Dude, if I've got Kudus instead of Sarr playing the other 10 in this system that Tudor likes to play, if I've got Kudus instead of Sarr alongside Xavi and the other 10, like, we have dangerous people going forward. I'm just saying, like, there are options that we will have to beat teams like Palace and Fulham that we don't necessarily, that we wouldn't have had under Thomas Frank. I feel that.
I think that Porro is the guy that may come back. In terms of the other ones, I don't see them coming back anytime soon. We haven't really heard anything about Mohamed Kudus, and he's imminent. I mean, at first we thought we heard he's going to be out at least through the March international break. If we say that, he's probably going to need another week or two to get up to speed, having been out so long. And at that point, we're looking into mid-April. The season only goes to early May. So, like, what are we? Like, we're talking about getting to the business end of the season here and trying to welcome guys back in and get their fitness back up to a level where they can help. I just don't see a lot of guys coming in and really injecting this team with much more than what they already have. And by the way, this is no condemnation on them or the situation that Igor Tudor has been put into. It's completely a condemnation on Johan Lange and Van Venkatesham for doing jack shit in the month of January in order to help this club.
You're not wrong. I don't disagree with you, but this is what I will say. Romero's coming back. So early March, Romero coming back.
He's got another 2 matches to sit, though, right?
I know. Udogi coming back mid-March. Danzo early mid-March. Porro early mid-March.
I hear you, man. I do. Like, I think there's a possibility to get some guys back. I just don't know that any of these guys are coming in and immediately making a big, big change. This was a bad football team before those players went down. And it's even a worse team now.
All I'm saying is if Cudi Romero is in that match instead of Dragoshin, it's a completely different match. If Kevin Danzo is in that match instead of Dragoshin, it's a completely different match. Or even if it's Dragoshin and Kevin Danzo and instead of Paulinho back there, it's a completely different match. If I've got Udogi and I've got Spence, or I've got Porro and I've got Spence, it totally changes everything that we are. Just in the stats back that up. And so I feel like between that and what Tudor's asking us to do, there are wins on this schedule. I don't think we're as shit as you think we are. And I think the perfect example of that is the fact that we finished the Champions League group stage as the fourth-ranked team. So we're not completely shit. We're not completely shit.
I just think you need to look at the opposition, though. That's the problem. And when I look at the remaining opposition for this club, a trip to Craven Cottage next week, is that somewhere you're expecting to get 3 points? I'm certainly
3 points. No, I think when I looked at this, I said we're getting a point here. Okay. That's how I feel.
And then home to Crystal Palace. You think Spurs are going to?
I think we owe them, and I think we win that match. We always are very scrappy against them, especially at home.
I mean, are Spurs going up to Anfield and getting a result? I don't see that.
No, well, of course not. We never win at Anfield.
They're going to then return home to face a Nottingham Forest team that is in just as dire straits
and we win that match.
Yeah, I mean, those are the next
as people who have personally seen us beat Nottingham Forest at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we can attest to the fact that we beat Nottingham Forest at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
And by the way, Spurs don't face West Ham, but they do have another match against Wolves. They got to go to the Molineux, which is not an easy place to play. It never has been for them. They have to go up to Sunderland, which, look,
that'll be fun.
Sunderland may not have had like the best second half of the season compared to their first half of the season, but you still got to go up north to that venue, and you got to try and get a result there. That's not going to be easy.
And I think you're dancing. I think you're dancing around Champions League matches about that time too. So.
Well, the Champions League matches are going to be coming up here soon, within the next few weeks. So we're going to get that draw by the end of this week and find out who that matchup is against. So yeah, man, I mean, it doesn't get any easier is my point. And the opponents that are still ahead, I mean, there's still a trip to Stamford Bridge toward the end of the season. Like there's not going to be a lot of points left in this schedule. I think that's the part that makes me really nervous. So
okay, so but let's talk about that though, because I don't need a lot of points. I need 1 point. I need 1 point per game average on the way out the door, and we're safe.
Yeah, and I don't want to go. I don't want to do the old like Mike and the Mad Dog routine and go through the schedule and say win
No,
loss. But like,
no.
but when you look at this schedule, I don't. You're way more confident than I am in them finding 11 more points from their 11 final games, and I think that's commendable on your part. I don't. I'm like could they maybe scratch a point at home against Palace? Perhaps. I don't really see them going on the road to any of their remaining road matches. I mean, maybe they could go to the.
Do you see a win? Do you see a win on the schedule, Andrew? That's all I'm asking you, because I understand your perspective of erring on the side of caution, but do you see a win?
I think there's a possibility of a win at home against Leeds toward the end of the season, because they always seem to play well against Leeds at home. That's something I could see them doing. But who knows who's going to be on the pitch by that point? Like, that's the other big part of this, is that we don't know who's coming back, but also who could still be going out. Like, we just don't know, because this team has been so beleaguered for so long from an injury.
Well, we don't know what we don't know, but what we do know is the fact that this team looked way more alive under Igor Tudor than they did in their previous 8 weeks.
And is that what's giving you hope? Because I could understand that fully. Like, I really could.
Listen, we don't have a killer. We don't have anybody on the pitch that you go, there's a breakaway, and you go, oh shit, that's going to score. Like, I got to go see Sonny versus Messi last night.
Yeah.
And there were 3 opportunities where Sonny had a breakaway and the entire stadium stood up. We don't have anyone who gets you out of your seat. But I'll tell you what, if this is the beginning of the Randall Kolomuani redemption arc, like, I'm 100% in. Sign me the fuck up.
It's almost required at this point. Like, we almost need it to happen.
When I saw in the group chat, you were like, "Is this the fucking lineup?" When it came out this morning, and when I saw that, and I saw that RKM was leading the line, I was like, "All right, bud, let's see what you're going to bring to the table. This is your shot. Let's see what it looks like." And I was, first off, he only lasted about 70 minutes or whatever, which is fine. Like, but in that time, when he came off, I clapped him. And I said, and I stand on the fact that was his best showing in a Spurs shirt, without a doubt.
Yeah, other than maybe the Champions League match against PSG, but yes.
No, I don't even want to hear that, because that's one of his old teams. He always scores against his old teams. That's why I'm rooting for Juventus in this draw. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What I would say is,
well, and they're down too.
I know. This is Randall Kolomuani's coming out party. Everybody washes Arsenal's balls when it comes to their defense. Hold on. And Randall Kolomuani beat the brakes off of those boys for 70 minutes that he was on the pitch. Mm-hmm. And if he can do that against them, that gives him the confidence that in this Tudor system, he can do that against anybody. Remember, under the Frank system, they were always changing what they were doing depending on who we were playing. Igor Tudor comes in, and I swear he's blindfolded, assembling and disassembling and reassembling his weapon as he's having a conversation with these guys. I'm telling you, man, that man is a contract killer. You can just see it in his face. Like, I believe the phrase that was floating around is that man has bodies. And I cannot confirm nor deny, but what I can say is that he certainly looks the part. And if we can get the team to embody the spirit of the manager over the course of the next 11 weeks, I think we're going to be out of the woods in about 8. So we'll see.
Boy, I hope so. To your point, like when I saw the lineup, my only real reaction was that it was RKM up top, and none of Solanke, Richarlison, or Tell were in the lineup. And they all, of course, all 3 of them came off the bench at one point or another. But that was my only surprise. And honestly, I don't think it was the wrong lineup. I think Igor Tudor picked the right lineup. Things just didn't go the way that we wanted them to, and I don't think any of us expected them to go that way either. There was a moment at halftime that I know you wanted to touch on. I did not see these quotes, but we all know that Dele Alli returned to N17 this week and was presented in front of the fans and had a say. And I heard it brought a little tear to your eye, perhaps. I mean, which Dele would.
I love Dele. With my whole heart, I love myself some Dele. Like, he is forever the embodiment of the best times that we had as Spurs fans in the last few decades. Um, and to see, him be as vulnerable publicly as he was in the last couple of years, and to see kind of like the redemption arc that he's on and still trying to find his next football move and do all the things, like, it was great to see him back. And what basically the paraphrasing, but the takeaway quote was, "I hope you guys miss me as much as I missed you. I know there's been a lot of road traveled on the journey since the last time we met or were together, but please know that this will always be my home, or this will always feel like home," or whatever. And he, roundly cheered and loved, and "we've got Ali's" and all the things, and it's everything that you could want it to be. We still sing his names on European nights in number 17, Andrew. Like, he's a legend for Tottenham Hotspur. I will forever remember his 2 goals against Chelsea at the Bridge to beat them there for the first time in like my lifetime. I think I want to say like something crazy like that, right? Like, and so like there are things that the goal against Real Madrid in the Champions League, I'll remember forever, man. It was just like that was peak Tottenham. Like, there was never a time that I've supported Spurs where we were a better football club on the pitch than when Dele was at his peak.
I was talking about this in the context of the match that you attended last night between LAFC and Inter Miami. I was talking about this because my wife sat down to watch the match with me, and she thought to herself, have Sonny and Messi ever met face to face before in a match? And I said, I thought about it for a second, and I said, of course they had to have, but it took me a second to rack my brain. They never have met on the international stage. Argentina and South Korea never, but the one match, actually two times they played against one another, was when we played Barcelona in the group stage in the 2018-2019 Champions League campaign, of course, a season that ended with us in the final. And Messi scored twice in one of those 2 fixtures for sure.
It was the first leg. We were it was at home, and they came, and it was Messi scored twice, and Ivan Rakitic, if I'm not mistaken, scored an absolute fucking screamer off the post past Hugo.
But then we go and got a point away.
That was the Harry Kane assist to Lucas Moura, and that coincided with like PSV and the Inter result. And you could see
the reaction
of the away fans that were like, because at the Camp Nou, they're way up in the corner in the Alps, right? And their reaction was incredible that night. So yeah, he's definitely shared the pitch with them before, and it's a draw. And then they did share the pitch in the League's Cup. I want to say it was like Sonny's first game. Like, he featured, but I don't think he was like settled in yet. The League's Cup semifinal last year with Inter Miami knocking out LAFC.
Gotcha. So last year in MLS perhaps, but different competition. Got it. Man, it is really nice, like doing a little bit of reminiscing, because it does bring you that. But then you zip back on the timeline to right now, and I do want to mention Spurs announced this week that they are going to freeze season ticket prices for the 26-27 season across both the men's and women's teams, which I think it's almost one of those moves where it's like, yeah, no shit. Like, they couldn't afford to raise ticket prices with as bad as it's been. Like, that just wouldn't make any sense to anyone. And there would be.
Could you imagine raising ticket prices and then we go down?
That's what I mean. Like, I'm saying, Spurs are going to freeze their season ticket prices, but it's almost like, well, sure, of course they are, because you couldn't imagine them doing anything else. This decision was, of course, made after a little bit of a consultation with the new fan advisory board, which I know a lot of people have their own opinions on after they released some minutes over the last week or so that were excluded from the club. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I guess at least that step has been taken. There's also this report from the Telegraph this week that Spurs are set to lose tens of millions regardless of whether or not they suffer relegation this year, because there is a quote-unquote key sponsor that is ready to pull out of their deal with the club after this season. There's no revelation yet as to who that sponsor is. I know we can all speculate to that. But I think the key part of this report from the Telegraph states that, yes, on-field production and on-field play is a part of this decision from this mystery company, but it's also because the club's largest financial partners have yet to actually have a face-to-face meeting with Vanai Venkatesham and members of the Lewis family since the departure of Daniel Levy last summer, which I think is just an absolute colossal dropping of the ball, and add it to the list when it comes to this club. But if you're going to start pissing off sponsors, in addition to being a shit football club on the pitch, you're really going to start the ball rolling down a hill you don't want it rolling down, in my opinion.
I mean, that's certainly one way to look at it. What I would say is all of this is lining up for what I thought was going to happen for an extended period of time, which is the Lewis family is going to sell the club. I think Daniel was exceptionally good at his job when it came to the administration side of things. And his loss has certainly been felt on that side of the house since his departure. I think that this is also part and parcel of the way that the Lewises have always done business, which is like leading up to a window where the expectation is they need to spend a lot of money. All of a sudden, a story comes out about how Tottenham are hamstrung or the funds aren't available or whatever, and all of a sudden, there's a scapegoat for why the window is underspent in. And so this is kind of what I'm expecting. They came out and were like, oh, we're going to do big things in the summer. Watch us. And then shortly on the heels of that story, we get oh, no, well, Tottenham's going to lose a bunch of money, so they're not going to be able to spend again. And that's fucking par for the course, brother. This is not good news. So that's why I truly believe that this is like a big sponsor pulling out. Name me a big sponsor of Tottenham Hotspur. Who are we saying? Like, what is it?
Well, we know the deal with AIA for the front of the shirt is supposed to end at the end of next season. That's already been announced.
Right. Well, let's have this conversation.
While a new front of the shirt sponsor is unknown to this point.
Well, let's have a conversation about that, right? So, like that, we know that the front of the shirt deal is going to end at the end of next year, and then supposedly they're going to take over as the training kit sponsor,
right?
Well, what if, because this deal is ending, AIA looks at us and goes, well, we just don't want to be a part of this anymore. We're getting out of here.
Could be.
Like, that's very plausible, and it's very easy for that story to turn into Tottenham losing a major sponsor.
It is.
Because they're the front of the kit sponsor.
Yeah,
right?
No, you're 100% right. And if it's, honestly, you said it before we started recording, name another big sponsor. There are big sponsors, but a lot of the big sponsors for this club have actually come on fairly new. Like the Sports Illustrated deal for the tickets has been a fairly new deal. I would consider them a big sponsor. Obviously, I don't think they're shying away from sponsorships like Nike and those kinds of things. Like those are, kit spot. Like they make the kit. I mean, I don't know who it is. If it's Kraken, like the sleeve sponsor, peace, c'est la vie.
Right. Well, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, so what's the Kraken deal worth? Like $40 million?
Right.
So, like, oh no, it's tens of millions, and technically that is. But do you know how quickly you could sell a fucking sleeve sponsor in the Premier League?
Well, and that's if you're in the Premier League, and
in the Championship, it's even easier. No, anyway. No,
yeah, but that is the other big factor. So we'll see how it comes about. But it's just one of those stories that's out there. That's, of course, what you like to call narrative affirming decisions, I like to call narrative forming stories. Like that is part of this as well. That it's just, Spurs are in free fall, and not many lies are being told when it comes to saying that either, though. That's the other big problem. So,
well, I mean, no. Like, and the reason why I say no is because we're not in fucking free fall. Like, this is something. Well, listen.
We got 11 more matches to figure out if that's the case or not.
You know what? And if you have a conversation about your prospects of success when you're in the middle of the worst part of the journey, you're going to have a different opinion than you are when you've crested one of the mountaintops or one of the hills, depending on your hike, right? So, like, yes, as we're mired in the valley and it's hot as shit and we got to climb 14 miles out of this canyon, it's easy to look at it and go, I don't know, man, that's pretty far. But let's have a conversation after Craven Cottage next week. What if we
Yeah.
get 3 points right there? Because then Andrew, then
Oh,
we
if you
got
get
10
3 points,
games. And, we got 10 games, and I only need 8 points. So now what are we talking about? So you see what I'm saying, bro? Like it changes
certainly
things.
looks brighter if that happens. Let me ask you this on our way out here. 11 matches in the Premier League. You're also going to have a knockout round of the Champions League coming up in the month of March. The next time we speak will be in the month of March. March 1st is a week away. You're either going to face Galatasaray, Juventus, Club Brugge, or Atletico Madrid in that knockout round.
Mm-hmm.
How many of your eggs, not that Spurs have many eggs left in their basket, but how many of the eggs are you putting in that Champions League basket, knowing full well that you're fighting for your Premier League lives in these other competitions? Like, I think it is going to be a little bit tough to prioritize focusing so much effort on a knockout round of the Champions League when you've really got to keep the bodies healthy to try and stay in the Premier League. I'm curious of your thoughts on that.
Well, if you can't play hurt, you can't play this game. Is what it boils down to. If you can't play with pain, you can't play the game. So it's this is the business end of the season. Everybody's going to be playing with knocks. Like, that's part of the deal. We're going to start to get some people back in the beginning part of March, and so that's helpful as well. Like, everybody understands where we are in the season and when we're going to need the most help. The biggest thing is again, I think that my answer on that is dependent upon how we do next week at Craven Cottage. Because if we go into March going, okay, we've got to go to Galatasaray away in 3 weeks, but we just got to win and a draw over the next 2 Premier League matches, or God help you, Andrew, if we get 2 wins and we're looking at 6 points from those fixtures, well, then it's okay if we prioritize the Champions League knowing we have to go to fucking Anfield and get our shit kicked in. It's totally fine if you're like, well, Dragoshin, have a great match, buddy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm able to get Cudi Romero back for the Champions League, right? Like, if I'm able to see Kevin Danzo and Cudi Romero with Mickey Vandeman in a 3, like, I feel confident that 3 can go up against anybody that we face and put it in a good shift. And so it changes things, man.
And those 2 Champions League matches do indeed bookend the Liverpool match, the trip to Anfield.
Yeah. And so from my perspective, if I've got
a spot where you have to kind of not focus on that one as much, perhaps.
Exactly. It's Lucas Williams Barnett. Get your ass on the pitch. Let's go, big dog. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm looking at, is that you have to make business decisions at this time of the year. Ange made a business decision at about this time last year.
He made a couple of them, for sure.
I'll tell you what, man.
They paid off.
And they damn sure did. And he'll be able to flex that Europa League for the rest of his life. Like, the first Greek, the first Australian coach to win a Europa or a major European trophy. Like, Ange will have that on his resume forever. Everybody else can eat shit.
There's no question about that. That is just about gonna do it. Speaking of knockouts, we do have knockout football tomorrow for Spurs women. They are playing London City Lionesses in that round of 16 FA Cup match. Be sure to tune into that one. That is going to be a really, you can buy that one. You get yourself into a quarterfinal of an FA Cup.
Anything can happen
after that. And you got they are the last match of this round to be played on Monday. So be sure to tune into that one. That's going to be London City are I think the perfect test for Spurs in this spot to try and advance in the cup, and then they'll be back to WSL play as well next week. That's going to do it for this edition of The Depot. Be sure to check out our episodes on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Tottenham Depot. Leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice. Help spread the word about the show. You can follow Todd at TC_Kasho. You can follow me at A.Stedka. But most importantly, follow us at Tottenham Depot on all the socials. That's where you will find the pod. We will talk to you next week after that match at Craven Cottage, where we hope things go well. We'll talk to you next week. This has been the Tottenham Depot podcast. As always, come on, you Spurs.